Researchers in Turkey now claim they found indisputable evidence that the story of Noah's Ark was not a cautionary tale.
The Ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat.
June 2025. In the remote hills of eastern Turkey, something extraordinary has just been uncovered. Something buried deep beneath the earth, beneath the shadow of Mount Ararat. Using advanced ground-penetrating radar, researchers have identified a massive structure hidden in stone and soil. Its shape? Long, symmetrical, carefully layered, and almost identical in proportion to the dimensions recorded in the book of Genesis. At first, it seemed impossible, too precise, too aligned. But now, scientific teams on the ground are confirming what was once only whispered in legend. This is no natural formation. This is something engineered, something ancient, something that has no business being there, unless the story we thought was just a myth is actually true. For centuries, people have searched for Noah's Ark, hoping, digging, speculating. But today, in 2025, we may be standing closer than ever before. This isn't folklore. This is real data, real discovery. And if what lies beneath that hillside is what many believe it is, then the implications reach far beyond archaeology. Because if the Ark has been found, what else from the pages of Scripture might be real? Stay with us. What you're about to hear might change how you see history and the future. A discovery beneath the earth. Shockwaves from Mount Ararat. High above the Darupanar site, a drone camera sweeps slowly across the terrain, revealing what looks like the outline of a colossal ship etched into the earth near the foot of Mount Ararat. It's here, in the heart of eastern Turkey, that something extraordinary has emerged. Not from legend, not from myth, but from the soil itself. Beneath this unassuming hill lies a formation stretching approximately 150 meters, longer than a football field. And it's not random. It's shaped, it's symmetrical, and according to researchers, it's engineered. Andrew Jones and William Crabtree, explorers with the Noah's Ark Scans Group, have been returning to this site since 2019. But it was in 2025, after years of mapping, analyzing, and probing the ground with advanced radar technology, that the evidence took a dramatic turn. Their tool? Ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, a method used in archaeology, geology, even forensic investigations. It sends electromagnetic pulses into the ground and maps what lies beneath, revealing voids, boundaries, and hidden structures. What it revealed here was stunning. 3 distinct layers, multiple interior chambers, a central corridor running the length of the object, much like the blueprint of a vessel. And these features weren't scattered or misshapen. They were mathematically aligned. Right angles, repeated patterns, symmetrical voids, evenly spaced like decks, bulkheads, or stalls. Scientists reviewing the scans describe it as too ordered to be a product of nature alone. It's this pattern, this unmistakable form, that echoes something written thousands of years ago. In the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 15, the dimensions of a great vessel are recorded. A length of 300 cubits, a width of 50 cubits, a height of 30 cubits. Proportions? Strikingly similar. Skeptics call it coincidence. But as the evidence deepens, that word begins to lose its grip. Because this isn't just a shape in the dirt, it's a puzzle demanding attention. What are we really seeing beneath the earth? And who built it, if not the forces of nature? The Ark in the ground. Science meets scripture. As the scans were processed and layered into 3D models, the image became clearer. What lies beneath is not simply large, it is structured. Technical animations show slices of the formation, horizontal and vertical. Interior chambers branch from a central corridor, almost like rooms in an ancient ship. The consistency of these internal divisions points to a deliberate hand, not geological accident. Archaeological teams working on site have begun collecting samples. Core drilling into parts of the structure has yielded material fragments chemically distinct from the surrounding hillside. Early indicators suggest the presence of fossilized wood, possibly from an ancient timber framework. Further analysis revealed organic residues embedded in sediment layers surrounding the voids, perhaps once insulation, perhaps remnants of animal life. Even the color and density of the soil seems to change dramatically at the edges of the formation, as if enclosing something once separate from its environment. Scientists are quick to emphasize, this is not proof. Not yet. But the data is difficult to dismiss. The structure's internal symmetry, the regularity of its measurements, the repeated width of the walls, the parallel arrangement of cavities suggests purpose, design, intent. One geophysicist involved in the analysis described it this way: "This isn't the fingerprint of erosion, it's the shadow of construction." And then there's the context, the location. At the base of Mount Ararat, long regarded in Judeo-Christian tradition as the resting place of Noah's Ark. Coincidence or confirmation? Noah's Ark, the shortest story with the longest shadow. For generations, the story of Noah has crossed cultures, languages, and centuries. In just a few verses, the Bible tells of a man chosen to preserve life in the face of divine judgment. Noah builds an ark, exactly 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high. It carries his family and every kind of animal, 2 by 2, while the earth is washed clean. And then, the waters recede. The ark comes to rest, according to Genesis, upon the mountains of Ararat. It's a story many have cherished as faith, and others have dismissed as myth. But across history, from medieval maps to Cold War aerial photos, explorers have returned to these mountains again and again, drawn by the possibility that this vessel might still exist. And now, in 2025, the ground itself is speaking. Could the structure beneath Darupanar be more than an echo of a legend? Could it be the Ark? The discovery unfolding now doesn't just revisit the story, it reframes it. Because for the first time in modern history, we're not relying on ancient texts or second-hand reports, but on data, on measurements, on evidence. This is no longer just a story passed down. It's becoming something tangible, something testable, and that changes everything. From myth to mainstream. What's different? This time, over the years, claims of having found the Ark have come and gone. Enthusiasts like Ron Wyatt sparked public fascination in the late 20th century, offering photographs and personal accounts. But those expeditions lacked critical support from the scientific community. They were passionate, but not peer-reviewed. And that's where 2025 marks a turning point. This time, the tools are different, and so is the team. We're looking at high-resolution ground-penetrating radar scans, peer-validated chemical analysis, and satellite imaging coordinated with precise GPS mapping. Multiple independent laboratories are examining core samples for evidence of fossilized wood and construction materials. The sediment layering around the site is being analyzed stratigraphically, revealing whether the object was deposited by natural processes or embedded by design. And the response? It's no longer confined to fringe circles or online forums. Mainstream media outlets have begun to report on the discovery, not as a spectacle, but as a developing scientific investigation. Academic journals are preparing to publish preliminary findings, the conversation is shifting from curiosity to credibility. International archaeological teams from the US, Turkey, and beyond are coordinating efforts. Linguists, historians, geologists, and structural engineers are all weighing in. For the first time, the Ark is not being chased by treasure hunters. It's being studied by scientists. Skepticism remains, as it should. But so does openness. This isn't about proving faith. It's about following the evidence, wherever it leads. And right now, it's leading us back to a mountain, back to a shape in the ground, back to a story that refuses to be buried. The Ark and the End. Times, a spiritual reflection. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24:37. These words, spoken quietly by Jesus on the Mount of Olives, were not part of a sermon for the crowds. They were given in private, spoken to his closest followers in response to a question that still echoes today. What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? And Jesus didn't begin with fire from heaven. He didn't mention earthquakes or wars, not first. He began with Noah. In that simple reference, Jesus invited us to remember a world before the flood, a world of normal routines, people eating, drinking, marrying, working. Life seemed ordinary, even as something extraordinary was building just out of sight. And then it happened. The rain began. Today, we live in a world not so different from Noah's. We are surrounded by technology, convenience, and endless information. And yet, something feels fragile. The ground beneath modern life is trembling. Wars have erupted across nations, drawing in global powers and sowing fear across borders. Natural disasters come more frequently, and with more fury. Economic systems rise and fall with alarming speed. And everywhere, it seems, truth is harder to find and harder to trust. We live in an age of chaos dressed as comfort. So when a structure is discovered beneath the soil of Mount Ararat, one that mirrors the exact dimensions given in Genesis, what are we to make of it? Is it just an interesting coincidence? A historical curiosity? Or could it be more? Could it be a message? A quiet warning from the edge of time? In Noah's day, the Ark wasn't built overnight. It took years, decades even. While Noah worked, the world watched. But they didn't believe. They mocked. They ignored. They went on living until the rain started falling. And by then, it was too late. The Ark was not just a boat. It was a dividing line between faith and indifference, between obedience and pride, between life and judgment. And now, all these centuries later, that Ark may be speaking again, not with thunder, not with signs in the sky, but from the dirt, from a forgotten hillside in Turkey, from the very mountain the Bible names. Final thoughts, history in the dirt, destiny in the sky. And so, we arrive at the edge of the mystery. Could this massive formation beneath the Turkish soil truly be Noah's Ark? If so, then we are standing on sacred ground. Ground that has held the weight of survival, of judgment, of mercy. But if not, then we're left with an equally haunting question. Why does everything, its shape, its symmetry, its precise dimensions, so closely match what was written in an ancient scroll thousands of years ago? Why here? Why now? Could a coincidence stretch this far? Or are we witnessing confirmation, slow, silent, and undeniable? These questions matter because they pierce deeper than archaeology. They lead us to examine not just ancient wood, but ourselves. We often treat stories like Noah's Ark as allegory, as children's tales. But what if they're more than that? What if they are not just poetic truths, but real moments in time, preserved under layers of earth and history. What else might be waiting to be uncovered? What other pieces of scripture have we dismissed as symbolic, when they were, all along, rooted in something literal? This discovery challenges us to rethink the line between myth and memory, between faith and fact. The Bible, far from being a closed book of moral fables, might still hold secrets that touch both the ground beneath our feet and the skies above our heads. Because the Ark isn't just a relic, it's a signpost, a reminder that when humanity turned from God, judgment came. But when one man listened, a way was made. And if we are truly entering the days that mirror Noah's, then the Ark might not just be something to uncover, it might be something to remember. This is more than a story, it's a conversation, and we invite you to be part of it. Do you believe this is Noah's Ark? Or do you think the evidence points somewhere else? Let us know in the comments. Let's talk. Let's think. Let's reflect. And if you found something in this story that stirred you, even just a little, we encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Because what you've seen here is just the beginning. The chemical tests? Still being analyzed. The carbon dating? Still to be released. And the implications? Still unfolding. This could be the most important archaeological find of the century, maybe of all time. And we'll be right here, following the updates, speaking with experts, asking the questions the world needs to ask. So don't miss what comes next. Share this video with someone who's ever wondered if ancient truth still matters. With someone who needs hope. With someone who's forgotten that the past can still speak.